episode of the NBA Outlet Preview Series presented by OTGBasketball.com. I'm your host, Nick Fay. With us tonight, Matthew Handel, OTG writer. What's up?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Getting ready for the next team in this preview. And with me, as always, Harris Wichard. How you doing, Harris?
Doing pretty good. Thanks for joining us, Matt. We appreciate everybody that comes on and all the writers and the guests we have. Today we're looking at team number 11, the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, Chicago Bulls coming up at number 11. This is an interesting team. You know, there's been a lot of change on this team, especially from the past. You know, they probably hit their high point where they were against the Cavs and it looked like they had a chance against them in the playoffs, and things went south from there. But what do you think about the ranking? You think it's fair that they're number 11?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's a very fair ranking. Like you said, there, in the past, you always felt like it was the Bulls, Cavs, the two toughest teams in the East going, head to head in the playoffs. But I think that you have to be realistic now, and that's not the team of the present. That's just the past, They're bringing in the new pieces. I think that the ranking's fair because I think even with all the turnover, they're not going to drop that far, but they do need to drop a little bit because they're not the same team.
Exactly.
Yeah. They don't have those playmakers of the past. They brought in Wade and Rondo. They're playmakers, but they're not getting any younger. So I think that it's a very fair rating.
What about you, Harris?
At their peak, like Matthew had mentioned, they were 62-20 with a MVP Derrick Rose that couldn't get over the top against LeBron. Then they were bounced in the first round, conference semis, first round, semis, couldn't get back to the conference finals, and then they're 42-40 under Hoiberg. Obviously, getting rid of Thibodeau was a power move, but Jimmy Butler even said that Hoiberg needs to coach him a little bit more, and he needs to be the man. So I think this is a tad, and I say a tad too high because this team will be in the playoffs this year because Dwayne Wade is going to be fresh enough coming home, I think, rejuvenated. Butler is obviously an excellent player. And Rondo, when Rondo is surrounded by the right pieces, it still could be a very solid player. So I think this is a good team. This is a team that's going to improve. But I think I would see them more as like a 13 or a 14 in my opinion. But, I could see why. The 11 is like the potential to me. That's a potential number, maybe even better than that, because when Wade gets hot in the playoffs, we've seen him carry teams before.
Yeah, I think the 11 ranking, like you said, is a touch too high just because you don't know what you're getting with this team.
Right.
They got so many new guys. I think one issue is going to be shooting. We'll probably talk about that more later, but obviously Rondo, Wade, and Butler aren't excellent three-point shooters, so spacing is a big issue in the NBA nowadays. So that's something to definitely keep an eye on. But let's move on to the offseason moves. Like we've touched on a few times already that there's a lot of movement. We'll start with the additions. Picked up Isaiah Cannon, Rajon Rondo, Dwayne Wade's coming home. They also had a nice little draft with Denzel Valentine. What move sticks out? Who's going to have the biggest impact?
Honestly, you go through that list and the name, but just when you hear Dwayne Wade's name, it's kind of strange, right?
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to go on a little stretch here, but I think to me, Robin Lopez is actually the one that'll stick out the most. Obviously, we're going to get D Wade's leadership and Rondo's creativity, but I think going back to when the Bulls were in that playoff run when they were good, they had DeRozan and Joakim Noah, and I think the toughness was what they built their team off of. I still think, like you said earlier, with the lack of shooting, I think that they're going to have to get back to that toughness, and I think that Robin Lopez can bring a little bit of that. So I liked when they brought in Robin Lopez. It'll be interesting to see how Rondo does because, like you said, Harris, when he's surrounded by the right pieces, he is a really, really creative player.
Right.
And I do think that Dwayne Wade doesn't just provide that leadership. I think he can get hot at certain points. But I just like the Robin Lopez bringing him in for the toughness and defense side of the ball.
Yeah, no, that was an under the radar kind of move too because he was kind of people, the Knicks got Derrick Rose, but they gave away Robin Lopez, who was a solid center on a great contract.
Yeah,
so
and
he can definitely get him.
The steal of the draft is Denzel Valentine. I say that because at Michigan State, we know that Tom Izzo is one of the best coaches in college basketball. And look what Draymond Green turned into as a second-round pick. And Valentine is versatile. He fits the NBA style. He's 6'6", can play the point guard position. Not an amazing shooter, but 212 pounds strong. And I think he's going to provide some serious spark. He had like that game winner in the summer league.
Yep.
So I think if you look at their starting lineup, which we know is going to be probably Rondo, Butler, Wade, Taj Gibson probably, and Robin Lopez. If you look at their bench, Valentine is going to get minutes on this roster.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who they start at the 4. They could go Gibson or maybe Nicole Mirotic or, even maybe Bobby Portis.
Doug McDermott could start a little bit, probably.
Yeah, if they wanted to go small.
Right.
So, but let's talk about departures. We'll touch on Dwayne Wade a little bit later on. They did lose Pau Gasol, who had some nice seasons into Chicago. They lost Aaron Brooks, Jose Calderon, Mike Dunleavy, Etwan Moore, and Joakim Noah and Derrick Rose. Rose and Noah really stick out to you because, you think Bulls, you think Rose and Noah, and now they're gone. What move do you think is going to impact the Bulls the most?
From the departure standpoint?
Yeah, from a departure standpoint.
I'd have to go to, I think Dunleavy leaving because I like the way that Dunleavy just played his role in that team. Obviously losing Derrick Rose, but Derrick Rose just wasn't the same player at the end of his years in Chicago. We all know that. So I think it was just time for him to move on. And I think that if he stays healthy, and all the off the court issues, I think that he'll have a little bit of a better season in New York. But I mean, Dunleavy was just, but they got the veterans back in Dwayne Wade.
Rondo.
So Rondo, exactly. So I think that Dunleavy leaving, just from the standpoint that he did exactly what the Bulls needed. He could he could shoot the ball, he could play the defensive side, so he just filled the void that they needed.
Yeah, he definitely have an impact for them. That was kind of a nice move by the Cavs to snatch him up. Harris, what about you? With the part.
Jose Cal. No, I can't. I agree with the Rose thing. I can't say Derrick Rose because it wasn't the same guy. Noah was banged up, but I'm going to go with Gasol. I mean,
yeah,
if Gasol was on this roster, that'd be scary. Gasol is an underrated player in this league. He's going to help San Antonio a lot. He won 2 championships with the Lakers. He's a freak, man, on the block. He's one of the better offensive players in this league. When he gets the ball and knows what to do with it, he's a good 17 and 19, 20-foot jump shooter, could hit the 3. Gasol's not an amazing defender, but he uses his body well. He's a good communicator.
Great passer.
Yeah, great passer. He's one of my favorite players in the league, actually. Him and his brother both know how to play. So if Gasol was on this roster, and I like Robin Lopez, so I agree with Matthew in that Robin Lopez is going to be a key piece on this team. But I think if Gasol was here, that would make a big difference.
Yeah, no, he's just a good basketball player. He just is going to make your team better. And I'm going to agree with you. I think he's going to stick out as the departure because he had some really nice games with the Bulls. I don't know if you picked him up in FanDuel a few times. Maybe not last season, but the season before that, he had some ridiculous games.
Yeah, he did, dude. Not last year, but that 2014-15 year was crazy.
Yeah, so. And, obviously they'll miss Rose because he still was solid at points. He was very inconsistent, but he did have some Rose-like games. And, but they could actually gain something from losing Rose and Noah because I've read some things about the issues they had in the locker room. Butler was trying to become the leader of that team, the alpha dog, and Rose and Noah didn't want to give it up even though they weren't even playing in the games. So that could help Butler. Maybe he'll step up more and he'll feel more comfortable.
That's awful news for Knicks fans if that's the case. I mean, Melo and Rose and Noah might just all three-way kill each other if that's the case. Jeez, man.
I think when you say the alpha dog thing, I think you bring up a good point. I think now that with Rose going to New York, there isn't 2 alpha dogs because I think that Dwayne Wade and Rondo, they're coming in, but they're kind of they're making sure that Jimmy knows that this is his team. They're not trying to have 3 alpha dogs or anything like that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think even Wade said something like this is Butler's team.
Yeah.
And Wade is great at that because Wade knew in Miami that when it was his team to start, it wasn't working well. And he knew to take the seat to LeBron. Now, Butler is not the same player as LeBron, although Butler is an all-star in this league. Once you understand who the guy is, and listen, it does. Some teams like the Spurs have 3 guys that know that they all could be like the star one night, and that's when the teams get special. When Klay Thompson or Curry or Green, when you understand and have that camaraderie, and Bill Simmons talks about it as the secret of basketball. When you have a group of guys that just buy in and don't care who the guy is, but sometimes you have to have the vocal leader, and that's going to be Butler this year for them.
Yeah, and he has that toughness, that grit. From when he first came in the league, he was ready to go at anybody. He had some nice battles with some of the top players in the league.
Well, I was watching the ESPN thing, a video, and he got back to Jimmy Butler was saying that he wants the team to get back to being that the toughest team in the league, and not being scared to go at anybody, like you were saying. You know what I mean?
You have to have that mentality.
And Dwayne Wade said that was, or it might have been Rondo. Sorry, Rondo, I think, was saying that on talking about Jimmy Butler, that that's what impressed him. That one of the most about Jimmy Butler was the way that he just attacked any player. He was the toughest one on the court, and I think that's what they need to get back to.
One of the few guys that stands up to LeBron in this league. One of the very few guys.
Very true.
Yep.
I mean, you think about it, Rondo, Butler, Lopez, they're all tough guys, even if they play Taj Gibson, or I don't know if you guys have heard much about Bobby Portis, but like his nickname is Crazy Eyes or something like that, because he's just like, they say he has like KG-like intensity.
He's nuts.
He's that wild.
Yeah, we didn't touch on him yet, but he's going to have some good minutes for them too.
In that video, Bobby Portis was being interviewed, and he said, most guys say that they have a chip on their shoulder, and he likes to say that he has a log on his shoulder just because he comes into the league, and every time he plays a basketball game, he's underrated. So, like you said, he's just another tough guy on the team.
Exactly, and like you said, they want to get back to that mentality. It'll be interesting to see how Fred Hoiberg deals with that, because he's not really that tough vocal type of coach like Tibbs was. So. It's going to be an interesting season for him. But on to the next segment. Who needs to step up for this Bulls team?
Oh, my. It's tough. That's a tough question, because I think that this year it's going to be a year of everyone trying to find their own pieces. I think some guys know their roles, right? Like Jimmy Butler, obviously, we know what his role is. D. Wade, Rondo. But like some guys like Mirotić, Doug McDermott, Tony Snell. I think that those are the guys that need to step up. In particular, I'd say probably Doug McDermott. And I think that he'll definitely get a chance to step up this year, because they're like you said, Harris, with Denzel, Valentine, there are going to be minutes, specifically coming off the bench for guys to really prove themselves in this league. And I think that this is a really great year for those type of guys on this team.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see the McDermott. He kind of stepped up a little bit last year. One guy who everyone expected to have a big season last year and didn't was Nikola Mirotić. And I think this is kind of a year for him. I think he could get himself that starting 4 spot, because he gave him some shooting in that starting lineup, especially with Rondo, Wade, and Butler and Lopez. So if he can, get going, be a better defender, better all-around basketball player, and hit that 3-point ball, I think he could start and be a big impact for the Bulls.
Spencer Dinwiddie. No, I'm just kidding. I was just reading. No, I was going to take McDermott, so that was a great pick, Matt. I really like that option. But I'm also going to say Taj Gibson, because I think they need some front court play here other than, we have Lopez there, but somebody in the front court is going to have to score the ball. I mean, this is a team that's loaded in the back court with guys that are probably going to go to the rim. Wade could shoot the 3 a little bit better than I think people give him credit for and get hot. Butler's another guy that can get hot. Rondo's one of the worst shooters in the league, but again, he is also one of the best playmakers in the league also. So, that's just a reality. He's not a great shooter, but I'm going to say Gibson, because I think Gibson's very active, another guy that could rebound the ball, block shots, and I think if he steps into a role of, let's see how many minutes he had last year. I'll double check it. 26 minutes. He's going to have to play 32 minutes this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's either Gibson or Mirotić who starts or even Bobby Portis. I think that's kind of a training camp battle. I haven't been on top of the Bulls, but I don't think they've announced who's starting at the 4 quite yet.
I really like that point about how you said Gibson, because I think that, like you said, they're gonna need shooters, right, on the court. You're gonna need someone to stretch, and looking at that starting lineup, if you put Gibson in there, there's not a whole lot of shooting to go around. There's definitely a lot of toughness.
Right.
But I do like that point about Gibson. And going back to how we talked about people not being scared of LeBron, I always loved to watch Taj Gibson play against LeBron, because he was never scared of him. LeBron would get his superstar calls, and Gibson would just give the ref the stank eye, like, come on, man, I'm out here trying to battle with him. But I really like that point about Gibson.
Yeah, he went to USC. He's his 7th year. He's averaged 13 points in the league before. He was like a popular fantasy pick, because they usually have him inexpensive, and he can rebound the ball. I mean, his offensive rebounds he's an excellent offensive rebounder. He almost had 3 offensive rebounds a game. Obviously, we know that's only almost 1 a quarter. So his foul shots could be a little bit better. He doesn't really shoot threes, so he can't really stretch the floor, but he will battle for you.
Yeah, no, he has that energy. I think he's from Brooklyn, so he has that Brooklyn grit.
Yeah, he is from Brooklyn. You're right.
Brooklyn grit.
I actually was at a Knick game, not this year or the last year. I think it was 2014, end of the 2014 season, and I'm standing there before the game, and like one of my friends, a security guard, and Gibson walks over, and Noah walks over, and those guys are all both from New York, talking to somebody they knew from New York, but Gibson's like a down-to-earth New York guy that like has a lot of toughness, I think.
Yeah,
I think, going back to like why he has to, step up this year, I think that also he's getting a little bit older. So I think that he's going to have to be another voice on the team, to, help guys out that are younger coming in. I think that he can be that voice as well.
Yeah, very true. He can step up as a leader. But on to the next segment. Are the Bulls going to be better or worse this season?
I'm going to say worse. I think from a team standpoint, like camaraderie and how we talked about, gelling and stuff, I think at the beginning of the year, that's going to take a little bit to get used to. But I think that from that standpoint, from, a team standpoint, they're going to be better. But I think record-wise, it's going to be about the same or a little bit worse. I think that getting rid of Rose and everyone kind of knowing their roles, it's going to take a little bit to get used to the roles. But I think by the mid-season, towards the end, they're gonna all be finding their roles, playing their roles very well. So I think from that point, as a team, gelling together, they're going to be better than last year. But I just think that the record, I don't think it will be better.
Harris, what do you think?
Well, in the 90s, this was a pretty good franchise. So no, this is not the 90s Bulls, but no, I think that I think this is going to be like slightly better. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I can't see the Butler and Wade. They're just too competitive not to get in.
And Rondo is competitive.
Yeah, they're going to be maybe a couple games better than the 42-40, but I think they're at the bottom of the East. So I think I would love to see a Bulls-Cavs first-round matchup. I think that would be real fun.
Especially with Wade and LeBron.
Oh, yeah, that would be really fun. I mean, they'd probably hug each other during the game. I'd like to see them go at each other, but
hug after the game, maybe.
Yeah, they'll go out to eat because it's bigger than basketball, guys. We know it's bigger than basketball. LeBron tells us this every time. It's bigger than basketball.
Every game.
We know that it's bigger than basketball, but right now you're playing basketball, and hopefully there's a lot of competitive games in the East, and I think the Bulls will be like a 7 or 8 seed.
That'd probably be the best.
I think the
round one matchup. Sorry, but that'd probably be the best round one matchup. I would think.
Well,
that'd be pretty interesting. But I'm gonna go. I think the Bulls will be slightly better than last season, just because I think they'll probably maybe get the 8th seed. They could even have around the same exact record, and that might get you in the playoffs in the East. But final prediction for the Bulls this year.
It's a playoff team, I think, but they still have a long way to go. And I guess, and again, this is also a team that if Dwayne Wade, and this is possible to show off what he did last year, if they get hot, this is easily a team that can win a round too.
Yeah, no, they have that veteran type of player, and they have the type of guys that can win you a series in Dwayne Wade and Jimmy Butler.
Yep.
I guess now that you guys say that, I think that I might have oversold the getting, used to each other. I mean, realistically, losing Rose, from his last couple of years, really, I mean, he's still that player that, might get hot, but he's very inconsistent. I think they brought in, 2 guys that are way more consistent. So I think that you guys, made some good points there. Might make me change my mind.
Well, listen, I'm not telling you that they're world beaters. I just think they're going to be at the bottom of the East. But I think with the talent they do have, and these are guys like Rondo and Wade are easily guys to me that could turn back the clock a little bit. We saw Wade do it last year in the playoffs. Like that looked like vintage Dwayne Wade. That purple shirt clown decided to, for the Hornets fan, decided to cause some trouble for Dwayne Wade. That didn't work out well, but Wade wins that series, and you never know because – I'm sorry. Wade wins that series against Toronto. Would they play Toronto in the second round?
Yeah, correct.
Right, and they lost to Toronto. So we all want to see that conference final between Wade and LeBron, and that's where we were headed. So you never know how hot Dwayne Wade could get in the playoffs, and you always got to respect greatness. So I don't think this team's going to be a world beater, but I think they have a shot in the playoffs.
Yeah, just that playoff experience gives them a shot. But final prediction for this team.
Dang, I hate to go back on my word.
Yeah, no, just stay with what you were saying.
Oh, man, I'll say about the same. I'll say actually dead even at 41-41, just because I think that they're about the same team, to be honest. I know that there's a lot of turnover, and I do like the point. I think they'll get into the playoffs, but I think, like you said, Harris, I think it's going to be a bottom of the East team.
Yeah, agreed. My prediction is 44-38. I got them at a couple more. I'm going to say they'll be the 7th seed in the East, or the 8th. But if they're the 7, they'll get that game, that fight that we've talked about so much. It's important to avoid the Cavs in the first round, and to try to avoid them and get that series win against the Toronto, Indiana, Boston team instead of having to play Cleveland. So I think that's where they're at right now.
I'm going to go final prediction, 8 seed, best case scenario, 7 seed, and then worst case, they fall out of the playoffs. So I think our Redditors were a little bit high on them.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit lower than them, but I think,
Yeah, I'd say they're the 13th or 14th best team in the NBA.
So you guys going to watch the Bulls on League Pass this year?
Of course, I'm going to, I think that not only is there something to watch for the team, but I mean, who doesn't want to see Dwayne Wade play back in Chicago?
Yeah. I think that was one of the most shocking things of the offseason, other than Kevin Durant signing with the Warriors.
Yeah.
I did not think Dwayne Wade was going to leave. I thought it was all hype. And they said it was all hype for, a good week or two. Then finally you're starting to think, well, maybe this could really happen, and it did.
Because you'll always see those scenarios, those dream-like trades or this player going there. Like, for me, the Kevin Durant thing leaving was, realistic. But, like, after a week, I was like, is he actually on the Warriors? And I think I still kind of had that.
Yeah, it's so hard. Cousins had that look.
Yeah, just like seeing Dwayne Wade and just seeing him in the Bulls jersey is just so weird. But I think it'll be like really exciting and good for the city of Chicago.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out, especially early on, see how those three gel together and see where they get that shooting from.
Well, I talk about the scheduling, almost 30 nationally televised games. So even if you're not, you don't have League Pass, you could watch, almost 40% of the Bulls games. So it's a lot of ESPN, it's a lot of ABC, it's a lot of those Cavs games. Every time they play the Cavs, every time they play the Heat, every time they play the Warriors, every time they play the Raptors, Knicks. So these games are everywhere. They're going to play on – they are playing on Christmas Day too against the Spurs. So this is going to be one of the most exciting situations to watch unfold. So I'll absolutely be tuning in to most games that the Bulls play, at least for a quarter, to watch what's taking place.
Do you guys think that when Dwayne Wade goes back to Miami to play him, do you think he'll get booed? Or I hope not. I hope not. I really hope
I think he'll get cheers.
No, it's going to be all love. It's going to be all love.
I mean, because I think it came out too that like it was kind of Pat Riley's fault that Wade wasn't back there. His relationships that's like been reported with the players recently has been kind of strange. Yeah.
I don't know. That's 3 championships in 13 years and a lot of great memories. I could not see them being negative.
Yeah. I don't know how you could boo him, but I asked that just because I think on Twitter I saw some of course there was people burning the jerseys, but I don't know if that was.
Well, that's just there's a lot of hate out there, but the positive is going to outweigh that.
Yeah.
If it's 90%, like we knew that LeBron was getting booed going back to Cleveland. We knew.
Oh,
that.
For sure. Well, I think rightfully so, right? Because I think that was on him.
Yeah, and listen, now he's back there, and then everybody wants to be his friend again. So, and listen, it's the same thing with internet trolls. I mean, everybody wants to hate, but then when you find, then all of a sudden they want to agree with you when you respond to them. So, it's just that people are like that, and people are fake like that. So, it's going to be 90% positive. It's the Bulls are going to get outweighed, and Dwayne Wade is a Miami folk hero, legend, 3-time champion, and he's done it all there. So, I could not see them being negative with him at all.
Yeah,
very true. Now on to the emoji, the truth. What are you going with today, Harris?
I'm going to say the home emoji. And right now, if you want to cue the I'm coming home music, you can, Nick. But Dwayne Wade's a great player. Seems like a great dude, too, off the court. Always Snapchatting with his family and stuff. So a ton of respect for a legend in this game, a guy that's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Obviously, I have a great deal of respect because he started that whole full 7-time stand-up 8 mantra. He's played hard throughout his whole career. He's had some injury problems, too, but I think Wade coming home is one of the best storylines of the NBA this year.
Yeah, that's very true. And it's cool when a player gets to go home and play for their hometown.
Yep.
But that wraps it up for the Bulls today. Thanks for joining us, Matthew and Harris. Great show as always. And thanks, everybody, for listening.
Yeah, Matt, I really appreciate you coming on and making this a great podcast. We're headed now towards the top 10. And it's been a real fun ride. I appreciate everybody at OTG, all the writers, everyone that contributes to this cause. And so we'll keep this thing going and enjoy the rest of your day, guys.